Good evening and welcome to this edition of Chit Chat Live for the week of April 25th, 2016. Tonight we'll be discussing the Who Do You Think You Are episode starring Molly Ringwald. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. My name is Shannon Combs Bennett. I am the creative director for the In-Depth Genealogist. Joining me this evening are our
Shannon.
producer. Yes, someone said my name. Is our producer, our now you've got me all messed up, our publicist, Jennifer Alford, our executive director, Terry O'Connell. In addition to that, we have special guests, Melissa Barker from A Genealogist in the Archives, Mary Roddy of MKR Genealogy, Sherry Hudson Passy of 101 Genealogy and a Carolina Girl blog, Valerie Eichler-Lair of Val's Roots, and Christine Woodcock, owner of Genealogy Tours of Scotland. Welcome, ladies. How are you this evening?
Very well.
Good.
Great.
Good. How are you?
Great.
Pretty good. Nobody messed me up again, okay?
My lips are zipped.
No, I'm just,
Okay.
I'm just teasing, but
Sorry.
I have had a hard day, and you can throw me for a loop easily, so we'll just say that, right?
I hear you.
All right.
Well, we've all watched the Molly Ringwald episode and can't wait to discuss it. And I know Terry and I have been looking forward to this episode because we are fangirls of Molly Ringwald. Anyone else out there love her film, TV? I forgot she was in A Facts of Life. I forgot that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I forgot that.
Yeah, I probably know every single line.
What?
Of A Facts of Life? Really? You used to watch that show all the time? Uh-oh. Can Jen not hear me?
Jen.
Oh,
I hear you.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not what I was saying.
Oh, okay. I also watched, 16 Candles.
I was saying I know every line of 16 Candles.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
And Pretty in Pink and, yeah, all those. Anyone else want to comment on her filmography before we move on?
Well, do you
Breakfast
have a
Club?
favorite movie? I would just know, what was your favorite movie that
Who?
she's done? That Molly's done. All of you.
Oh, God.
16 Candles.
Yeah, 16 Candles.
Yeah, ditto.
I really like the Breakfast Club.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love the Breakfast Club.
That's, yeah.
I liked her in the
I like
same.
that.
I'll change my answer.
I don't know. You ready for this? My husband hates the Breakfast Club. Yeah, he can't stand it. Isn't that terrible? So I, torture him periodically.
You married him anyway?
They
What,
just had the, what was it, the 30th anniversary of the Breakfast Club, and they had it replaying in all the theaters?
Yes, they did.
I have a nephew who loves it, and I found out the day of, and I was like, oh my God, they're playing it. And he's like, Aunt Terry, I could be there in 10 minutes. He didn't go. I was like, I'm not going to have you drive that quick so we can see Molly Ringwald on the big screen.
Oh, that is so funny. Yeah, I wasn't able to see any of them in the theaters. I had to, wait till they came out on VHS.
Well, that was better than Beta, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, before we keep going down the Molly Ringwald fangirl line of things here, we are actually here to discuss her Who Do You Think You Are episode. So first of all, I found it very interesting in how much she loved her father and that he was blind.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be tough. It looked like he was a good musician, too. Maybe that's where she gets her jazz singing ability from.
Well, I didn't even know she was a jazz singer.
Me
I just
neither.
read that.
Me neither. It is crazy. Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
They played beautiful piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did.
I didn't know all that. So she lives in New York City. It's nice that her father lives just across the Brooklyn Bridge in Brooklyn Heights. And that's where she started the episode, which I thought was funny. Any of you have any comments about that? About the Swede?
Just once again, she started from what others knew and went from that instead of pulling up a computer and trying to find things that way. She went to people and asked and got pictures and information and started with that.
Right. Which,
I do love this.
Go ahead, Terry.
He showed the outside of the Brooklyn Library, really where she started the research process at. Though I did hate that his next thing was, well, I say you go to Sweden.
Well, you know, when you have a budget like that.
Yeah,
But,
if
okay,
you look
let me
at
ask
one
this.
census record.
I read somewhere that the Star actually pays for all of it.
Oh, I don't know
Has
that.
anybody heard that? Val, you read all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, the production company.
That makes sense. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
at
I
least they
would've thought, too.
started from the, genealogy standard of known to unknown, so they got the death
Yes.
certificate first, and then, once you got that, and then I love how he explained, Brian, about the 1890 census, and then starting with 1900, but then he really was good in explaining the 1862 Homestead Act, and it's like, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with Terry and everybody else that says, oh, you got to go to Sweden.
Was Christine going to jump in there a second? I thought I heard her. Maybe
No, I was not.
Okay.
No, everybody said everything I was already going to say, so I'm good.
Okay, but I kept giggling because she kept saying the immigrant was the Swede, but I don't know his name.
Yeah.
So I found
That's
that
crazy.
super humorous.
That's how they referred to him.
Well, he was. He was a Swede. At least he wasn't from Minnesota. I should not talk like that anymore.
That's okay. I live here, but I'm not going to talk like that.
I didn't particularly care for the fact, like you said, that they told her to go to Sweden without a township, without a city, without, just go to Sweden.
Yeah.
Felt like there was only one place in Sweden to go.
I was curious why they didn't pull, maybe because they don't have a contract with them, but why they didn't pull up the wonderful online Swedish archives first.
Yeah, right.
I don't have Swedish ancestors, but I know people who do,
Yeah.
who are going on and on and on about, what is it, Archive
Digital.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And how much of a wonderful site it is, and I'm wondering if they could have, thrown in something like that to show how before you jump onto an airplane, how you can, get over there. Because they had to have done something here to figure out where to go over there, right? You think?
Right.
Right, because you have to have the
Yeah.
exact place of origin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they didn't really show work. They showed working backwards, but it was very tiny part of it. They didn't show starting in the 1940 census. They jumped
Mm-hmm.
right to 1900 because, well, he came in 1890, you can't get, so let's go to 1900.
Well, that's because he was born in 1885. So what was the first What was the first census that he would have been in?
Sentence of life.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I mean, when you look at your ancestor, do you go straight to, okay, he was born in 1905, I'm going right to 1910? Or do you go, I'm going 1940 and working back?
I have done that, and I know the standard is to work backwards, in time. But if I know about where they would be, or more than likely from a death record or something, I would have known that to start, with the 1900 or 1910. But not all the time. No.
Okay.
Do as I teach, not as I do.
Right.
That's funny.
One of the things they didn't really
Very
talk
true.
about, and I peeked at the census, was kind of the community, even there in Nebraska. They talked a little bit about, farmers, but to see, how many Swedish people might have been in that community
Mm-hmm.
would have given a little more just texture to the community.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the fan principle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See if anybody else from the community was from their neck of the woods type of thing even.
Right,
would've
that's
been
what I
cool.
was thinking.
Yeah.
Find out where they came from based on the community, if there's a large group that have come from the same place.
Right. Nobody goes in a vacuum unless you're my ancestor, it
Mm-mm.
seems. So let's jump the
And they
pond
didn't
real quick.
really
Oh, go
make
ahead.
the-
Sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
But that kind of looking at that census, there were a bunch of other kids besides her ancestor in that house, and it's
Mhm.
interesting to see Edwin, I think, was hers that in Sweden, but all the rest of the kids were born in Nebraska. So you could really pinpoint exactly when they had gone or arrived.
Right.
Right.
Another point, too, is it was at the end of the show that when she got back from Sweden, then she goes to Nebraska, where you don't know how they filmed, if they did film her
Right.
going there first, but that should have been the first, point to go back there first and get more, and I'm hoping that's how they did that, even though it wasn't, that it was filmed that way, but it wasn't shown that way, but...
And that was the first clue that she was doing this, because she was spotted at that restaurant. Did you read that article? It was a really exciting article.
Right.
I did not.
She was in Nebraska having dinner, and they were at like some diner, and the waitress kept saying to the people that own the diner, "Man, she really looks like Molly Ringwald." They're like, "That's not her." So she went up and she said, she goes, "I hope you don't mind me telling you this, that you look like Molly Ringwald." And she replied, "Well, that's because I am."
Wow.
That's great.
They did ask them to keep it quiet because she was there filming and learning about her
Right.
family,
Mhm.
and it was out. I think Molly must have put it out within the next couple of days, because obviously you can't contain it once your public knows.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the, what's his name? Sean, who took a picture of himself on the airplane to Ireland.
Sean Hayes.
Thank you.
Sean Hayes.
Yeah, I knew that one.
Out of the bag.
Right.
I was curious.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to say, did it bother anybody else that they did not explore how or where, what point of entry she came into the United States? Because she didn't just fly and drop into Nebraska.
Really?
Exactly.
I was wondering that as well. How she got to, what boat she took to get from Sweden over to Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Right. That's an
The
important
port of Nebraska.
Gosh, we are all in a mood tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, I know. Poor Molly.
Go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
I was just saying to me, that would be a very important part of the research process.
Harry, did you look for that at all?
No, I just, yeah. They didn't stay long in whatever port they arrived in, though, just because of, they had a baby in, it looks like March of 1888 in the next son in Nebraska. So, but it would have been really interesting to set, passenger list and understood how they traveled and what that meant and how long it took.
And it would be on
Yeah.
a three-part show.
Yeah.
I was curious as to whether any family still owned that house, that property, because they had several children. And so it looked like somebody may have
Right.
still been there. And I was wondering if any family may, still own it or,
Be in the area.
yeah.
Give me a second.
Well, when I go down to Kansas in a couple weeks, I'll just drive on over to Nebraska and see.
All that information so you can find plots 7 and 8.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. I don't see anything listed here on the notes that I was given from TLC about that. So I don't know.
If somebody was there, she would have met the family. They would have put
Yeah.
that on the air.
I would
Yeah,
have done
that's true.
so.
You would hope
Yeah.
so anyway.
Right.
Well, it's hard to tell us folks in the Midwest to stay indoors when they're out front filming. The first thing you want to do is come outside and say, "Hi, come on in. Hey, brought me some cookies."
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause we're busybody people. Busybody.
Oh,
I totally would have been at the window.
oh yeah.
Sorry.
Nah, you're fine.
My kid's texting me about foot pain.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I gotta definitely have my niece's daughter, so that would be my grandniece,
Mhm.
and watch the show because her husband is a current miner in Arizona,
Oh.
And
Oh, really?
I'm sure she hasn't been able to go in and see the actual mine.
Right.
You know, he has, but this would really, you know, it really struck and hit home for me because that's happening right now, and I know how dangerous it is and how, you know, and so forth. So, but didn't she take a piece of the coal?
That's what I was wondering. I saw her pick up a rock, and I was
I think
thinking,
it was a rock.
are they going to let her walk out with that? But, you know, I guess when you're a star, you can.
But it seems like most of us have mining ancestors. I think, Jen, were you the only one who said you did not?
I don't, at least that I found.
Oh,
so
and
far.
Sharon.
Terry doesn't either.
I do.
Yeah.
No,
I
I,
just-
I don't know of any.
I have some, but I grew up in a coal mining community.
Okay.
So,
So my people, my West Virginia people, were long line of miners, and I will say this: they were from Raleigh County, and in Raleigh County they have an expedition mine that they actually do tours of, that you can go in and they kind of show you how it was and the things, and it was really interesting. And I want to say that I have pictures of it on my blog. I say that, and now I probably don't. But when we did that, I did put a lot of stuff up because we spent a lot of time there with my grandma, and it was, you know, her husband, her father, his father. They were all miners.
right.
So it's interesting if you can get into one to go and see.
What I
I'm
thought
too
was
claustrophobic.
Oops.
I come from a long line of miners on both sides of the family. And 2 years ago, I had the kids back in Scotland, and we went to the coal mining museum. It's one of the old coal mines, actually, in a village very near where my family grew up. And what I really liked about it, they've turned it into a museum, but what I really liked about it is the tour guides were miners. They actually worked in the mines.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're retired tour miners, and they will give you blow by blow of how their day went. You know, right down from they had to empty out all their pockets so there wasn't anything combustible in them, and just a whole bunch of really neat, detailed stuff like that. I just found it really fascinating. And I love social history museums for really understanding how your ancestors lived.
Yes, going to places like that, I think, are wonderful to give people context, definitely. Did you find it interesting when they were talking about the mine in Sweden that it was because it's on the coast and how it flooded like up to their waist? I mean, I'm used to having water in mines, but not necessarily having to work.
Waist deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, not waist deep. A lot of them did flood, but probably not that deep.
I was curious if they said it was, if the reason he mentioned it was on the coast, if the flooding was then, you know, associated with the tides or seasonal or things like that, if that made it even more, I would assume that would make it even more dangerous, because then you have to not only worry about, you know, stuff falling on you and poisonous gas, but, you know, drowning or cold or all those other things too.
And then they were wearing wool, you know, how heavy that would be when it got wet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh. So he was, her ancestor, Carl Grip, was miner number 303. Did you find it interesting because she was like, they were numbered, and he made the comment, well, you have to be able to identify them?
Yeah.
I think
we all
that,
have employee numbers.
yeah, I think that kind of,
I mean, I do at work.
Well, I'm not sure that the stars do, though.
they have a stat card.
They're all number one.
Yeah, exactly.
They are all number one.
Hey, look, oh, I don't know if you guys can see or not, but the slide I just put up is her holding the rock.
Okay.
That we were just talking about.
It's an old.
Yeah, because I thought because she had it in her hand and she kept walking, and I'm going, oh, because of take it.
It sort of looked like limestone to me. It did not look like coal.
No, it wasn't.
Looked too light to be coal.
It wasn't coal. So
She probably thinks it's blonde coal.
Oh, stop.
oh, I shouldn't laugh. I did find it interesting, and I don't know what your opinions are on this or if you had any thoughts, but the whole living in a minor house or being moved to the widow's home, and part of me was like, why didn't she just leave? I mean, were they not, when she was a widow, did she have to stay in widow's housing?
Well, think about what money did she have to leave?
Yeah.
Where was she going to go?
Yeah, where could
Really?
she go? That was my thought. She didn't have
Yeah.
anywhere else to go. There
I was
weren't any-
thinking, God, the next person you marry, it better be a farmer or somebody. Get out of the widow's house.
Not
I
in
wish
the
No,
we
she
had-
married another one.
Yeah, there probably weren't very many choices.
No, I wish we'd had widows housing. But in
Right.
Scotland, they just literally got put out.
Mhm.
Oh.
Had to, go and fend for themselves and find somewhere to go.
Yeah.
In the mine that I was talking about earlier, you can go and you can actually see like what the shanty was like for the single man, what the house was like for the family. It is very cool to take a step back in time and kind of see that. But of course, this is all within the U.S. And like Christine, there was no widow's house.
Mhm.
It's sad. And it was a hard life to, I mean, at least here in the States, it was a very hard life to get out of. I had asked my grandmother that because they left the mine because my grandfather was accident prone. And his mine boss told him he needed to get out of the mines before he killed himself.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And,
Jeez.
yeah, and they ended up here in Chicago, but they attempted to leave multiple times, and he would go back because he couldn't find a job that he liked, the whole money issue. So here they didn't earn cash, they didn't get a regular paycheck. They got their script. It was only good at their company store. Their company store placed their orders in Sears or wherever. And if they wanted to leave, let's say to move, you would turn your script in for cash. It was worth half the value of the script.
Oh.
Oh, my God.
Right.
You're really
I've heard that.
tied to that community. It's not easy to get away.
Well, in Scotland, you were also indentured to the mine.
Ugh.
And there was actually legislation I was just looking at, 'cause I think I just did a blog or an article for it, maybe an article, for IDG, and I was looking at the legislation, and they even allowed, so if a miner left the mine, even to go and work in another mine, the legislation allowed the original mine owner to go and capture him and take him back
Oh my
to the
gosh.
first mine.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it was horrid.
Wow.
Horrid way of life. And again, the money though, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things that I thought they sort of dropped is that she was widowed twice. I mean, she was widowed with Carolina's father, and then the second husband widowed. What became of her at that point in time? I mean, they didn't really.
They said she went back to the widow's house.
Yeah, but stayed in the widow's house for the rest of her life, and she just didn't get out, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Well, actually,
Sad.
hang on. I am looking. So
Either way, it's bad.
yeah, so here, since we're talking about the research in Sweden, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about what we were given as additional information that didn't make it in the show, just because this might shed some light onto some things. So first of all, Molly discovers that Carolina's maiden name Grip was a last name given to soldiers. Knowing that Carolina's father, Carl, worked in the mines, Molly searches for the origins of his family being assigned a soldier's name. Molly finds out it was Carl's father, Johannes, Molly's 4 times great-grandfather, who was designated Grip. She reads a move-in note which shows that Johannes was a dismissed soldier and moved to Haganäs, did I say it right? Well, the town, in 1826. But it only raises additional questions for them. Why was he dismissed?
Now that would have made a good story.
Yeah, it would have been a good story.
They probably couldn't find more beyond that.
Right. So,
Why
wait,
we got mines going.
there's more. There's another paragraph. You ready?
Ooh.
Molly then travels to the National Archive of War to meet with curator Thomas Roth, who presents Molly with a recruitment list showing her 4 times great-grandfather becoming a soldier. She discovers that Johannes, as a recruited soldier, would have been provided with a house, land, a cow, and stability for his family. He then shows
Wow.
Molly the 1821 General Muster Rule, which shows Johannes, just 3 years after being recruited, dismissed for the inability to perform the drills, without any additional information as to why he was discharged. Wondering what happened to
Oops.
Johannes's family as a result of his dismissal, Molly reads an
Aw.
1824 housing record that lists Johannes, now jobless, as impoverished. Armed with this new information about Johannes's dismissal and subsequent poverty, she begins to consider that mining may have been Johannes's only option to provide for his family. Thomas then shows her Johannes's death record, showing that he, like his son, was killed in the mines.
Mm. Well, and that makes sense because I wrote it down real fast that it said it wasn't work that you normally chose, but if your family didn't have a family farm, it was very hard to get into agriculture, and this with the military story, that now makes sense. It brings it together as far as why they went into the mining.
Yep, they didn't really have a choice.
They didn't have a choice, and they didn't have a family farm.
Well, if you think about it today, even coal miners today, it's not necessarily the first job you want to have.
I would like to know about her Jensen family.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
A comment of a name.
It is. Ooh, I have her echo. So I think the one thing they didn't talk about, and we discussed this before we went live, is the patronyms.
Patronymics.
Right. They didn't talk about that, and how, she could have been a Johann's son, John's son, but it didn't ever come up, and that would have been interesting to go into more, yeah?
That's why I said that early, I guess, before we started recording. It's like they didn't say anything about the patronymics. But
which would have made the grip be very hard, right? Because that's not a patronymic name.
Right.
Oh,
True.
so now I have everybody scrambling to figure out where the echo is coming from. So who else?
I don't know.
I have a question, Shannon. What part you read they were assigned the name? Is that what?
That's what it said. It said that Grip was a last name given to soldiers. So it must have been the time period where they were moving away from patronymics and into regular surnames. Which would have made sense, because that was about the time that Europe started going away from that and going into and a lot of the places who had patronyms, right, in the early 1800s were going into full surnames. Maybe, maybe not. Anyone have any thoughts?
I'm thinking that's still too early, that they were still doing that or naming after the farmland, but since they didn't have farmland.
Well, let's see here. That was after Napoleon, right? 1820s, 1830s? Yeah. And Napoleon, as he, went across Europe, was actually, the people that they conquered were making them get rid of those names. And then it spread. So he didn't make it to Sweden, but it would have spread after that, right?
There was one thing where they did talk about daughter. They gave her the translation of, I forget what the record was, but it said so-and-so's daughter, and it probably was the patronymic kind of surname, but they just kind of glossed over it, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the birth record.
Okay.
Yeah. So, any other comments, or do we want to move on to a different topic?
I hope they have this one. I think I read it right, that this one is going to be viewable for free, and so we can watch it again and catch all those little tiny details.
Yeah, they've been posting them on the TLC site within 24 hours of airing. So usually the next day you can get the full episode.
Well, they also just recently, the Katie's is behind a paywall with Discovery Go.
Boo.
Mhm.
The first two, Scott
Really?
and Aisha, they're still free. Katie is behind the paywall with Discovery Go, and you have to go in through your TV provider, and of course my cable company wasn't on there. But I heard somewhere that Molly's episode was going to be free.
Hmm.
I wonder if the more quote-unquote intriguing ones are going to be purchasable. That's why they're trying to get the more money out of them, because they're the more intriguing.
Right, the monetization, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Hey, if they're looking, oh, never mind, that's a different show.
was it even this season? No.
No, it wasn't, but I can be smarty pants.
Oh my gosh. So after Sweden, they went back to Nebraska. Did maybe I'm just the weird one, but I didn't find it totally weird that it was Carolina's name on the deed and not her husband. Is that just me?
No, I didn't find it weird at all.
Somebody else in one of the seasons had it too, that the property was in her name. Or they no, she homesteaded the land.
Yes, that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was on Finding Your Roots.
Yes, I knew it, one of them.
They all blend together after a while, right?
They do all come together.
Just a bit.
I would be interested in knowing what the laws were at that time that she was able to purchase it, because probably in some places you couldn't. So it just depended on what the laws were.
Well, the plat book they showed was created right after she bought it, and that was in 1908. So, so early 1900s.
Yeah.
But am I
Right,
losing
yeah.
something? Wasn't Carolina widowed?
No,
No.
he didn't die until 1930 is what her obituary
No.
said.
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, so Carolina and Gustav Gustav was the Swede who came to
The sweet. Okay, that's
who
right.
came
Okay,
to the
that's
U.S. It was Carolina's father, who had died. Carolina, sorry, his father, who's the one who died in the mine, Carl,
That's right. Okay.
and her mother, Shirsti Johnson. But yeah, so I didn't find that weird, and maybe it's because I've seen shady things where the guy is doesn't do so well, so he gives everything to his wife.
Well,
Right.
when you look at 1910, Gustav is a laborer who does odd jobs,
Yeah,
and she's a laundress. So she's taken enough laundry that she can afford to buy her house.
Yep.
Her kids are all basically laborers doing odd jobs.
so that might be a bit of the difference. She was basically the breadwinner type person in the family, so her money she buys the land. I'm okay with that.
Girl power, man.
I'm okay
That's
with
right.
that too.
Good for her.
But I did like that they showed the plat book and because those are interesting, and I don't think a lot of people realize how nice they are to use for research when you can figure out where everything is laid.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Oh, the poem for the obituary.
Oh, that
Any
was
thoughts about
sweet.
that?
Oh, yeah. That was so beautiful.
You could see it touched her.
Mm-hmm. So
I've
all
got a couple of those.
sorry.
I was just going to say, I've got a couple of those that were posted in the newspaper, like a year anniversaries of deaths, in remembrance of the person.
Wow.
Well, it's a good thing we weren't on camera at the time the show was playing, because you would have seen me cry.
Oh. So we're coming up to the end of the show. I'm just letting you know. But is there anything that we haven't talked about yet, or you all want to make sure that we discuss? Because I'm not, this show, I mean, I like Molly Ringwald and all, but this show, it just, did it seem to not, did it seem
It didn't
to drag
grab
a
you.
little bit? It didn't grab you. Okay, so it wasn't just me.
It was
No.
very
Same
disjointed.
drama as the others.
It was very disjointed.
Okay.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that with the focus on the mining, which was fine, they could have gone so much more. Like they talked about the widow house, but they didn't really show. I mean, they've got to have pictures of these other houses if they have pictures of the widow house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was so much more, I think, in the social history part of it that we could have discussed.
If I was a new genealogist or one just really getting started, I think I would have been very confused by the paths of research that they took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think if I was just thinking about maybe starting to trace my family history, this wouldn't have been the one that grabbed me to want to do it.
No.
Right,
And
especially
I
when
would have gone to Ireland right away.
especially when they looked at 3 records and the professional genealogist is saying, you got to go to Sweden, or you got to go to Germany, or you got to go to, it's like,
I'd have been all over Europe and
it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, yeah.
obviously we know they're trying to make it move along, but you
Mhm.
know, sometimes it's just a little bit crazy how quickly it's
Well, especially too, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the
Yeah.
first one where they went to a foreign country.
In this
Because
season,
prior to this, yeah, for this season,
yeah.
they jumped a little bit too quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the trick is to be as prepared as possible before you get there, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's what they tell me. I've never left the country.
Questions, but that's what they did
Right.
here for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they tell you to do in Ireland. Seriously, they tell you go sit at the pubs and let them know.
And that's what you did, right, Terry?
I am not a pub kind of gal. We had dinner in the pub, but that was about it. However, I did go in a coffee shop and talk to a couple strange ladies. And one lady said, oh, "This is like that TV show." Ah, yes. What do you yeah, a good show.
So funny.
And you can contrast
cute.
that to when you go to Scotland and I say, yeah, I have people here doing family history, and they're like, you and 10,000 others.
Oh. Well, we can see
I'm
the
not good
cultural
for you.
divide there.
Wow.
Kind of like when you go to Las Vegas and you want to get pushed up into the line to get into the club and say, well, this is my 21st birthday. Yeah, you and 10 trillion other people that say the same thing. So you bring your mom along and she pushes you on through.
Right, there you go.
There you go.
You seem to be speaking from personal experience.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
just checking.
Sounds pretty detailed.
I promised my son ever since he was little that when he turned 21, I would take him to Las Vegas. And he reminded me, of course, 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, and then, of course, the last 2 years. Oh, only 2 more years, or, oh, only one
Oh,
more
wow.
year.
Oh my God. All right, that's funny. I'm sorry.
I
He wants to go with his mother?
Well, there were other people there. Yeah, but, yeah. Okay.
What were you saying, Terry?
My oldest wanted to spend hers there. Instead, she spent it burying my grandmother.
Oh,
Like the birthday.
yeah.
So
Aw.
It was horrible. It was horrible. She died the day before my mother's birthday, like hours before my mother's birthday, and then we buried her on Brittany's birthday.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
However, she did go
Oh,
out
gosh.
at midnight
That's
on
rough.
the day of her birthday, came home, slept, got up, went to the funeral, and then came home, had dinner, and went out again that night sick and said, "It's my birthday, I'm going out, I don't care."
Oh my God. Well,
Aw.
more power to her.
Right, exactly.
All right, ladies.
Uh,
On that note, is there anything else that we need to cover? I think we pretty much covered everything.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and being a member of the panel. We had a full crowd this evening. There were 8 of
nice.
us on here. Oh my gosh.
cool.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
Oh, it's our
Crazy.
pleasure. We are very excited. Now, for those of you who will be at the Ohio Genealogical Society Conference this coming weekend, Jen and I will be there, so make sure to come by the booth and say hi. We're also, both of us are lecturing, so if you're in the
And
audience.
so am I.
Oh, who just spoke? Who was that, Mary?
Yes.
Mary will also be there. Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to go out to dinner or something. So like I said, come by, say hi, chat with us. It'll be fun. And then just a reminder, the week after that, the National Genealogical Society Conference in Fort Lauderdale, IDG will also have a booth there. So come by and say hi to us, check in, see our new stuff that we will be previewing on the next episode on our slideshow. Ooh. New publication.
Oh.
Very
Ooh,
exciting.
and you all can Skype with us
Yay.
for us that can't be there.
Oh,
We'll Skype.
okay. We'll put you on camera as long as you feel like you're camera ready.
Yeah, makeup, hair, yeah, oh yeah.
Right. All right, everybody. On that note, thank you again for joining us this evening. We will be back next week when we're discussing the next episode of Who Do You Think You Are? And please, with all these conferences come up, don't forget to go read our blog. We'll have daily blogs, or if not, at least overviews of what's going on and lots of tweets. So follow us on, what do I follow you on?
Twitter.
Twitter. Like us on Facebook.
Facebook.
And if you're into email, write us an email at editor@theinDepthGenealogist.com. And on that note, have a great evening, and don't forget to go in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye.